Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Monster Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the Big Bad Workshop Fresh Monkey Fiction Operation Monster Force Lt Griffin, the Eraser. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs about this figure that you might want to know, so that if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you'll know whether he's worth your hard-earned cash or not. I'm going to kick things off by jumping back in time and taking a look at the packaging on the day that this arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll get into the figure itself, talk about the aesthetic and visual experience, then get into the articulation and posability, have a rundown of all the accessories and added value, and then compare him next to a couple of other Operation Monster Force figures. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of thorough information to make your mind up as to whether this is the figure for you. So let's get into it and let's jump back in time and visit past Chris, who's going to take a look at the box on the day that it arrived here. Here we go. Well, here we go then, folks. Here is Lt Griffin, the Eraser, in packaging there, and it's the standard Operation Monster Force setup. You know, we've seen this motif the same across the whole line. Big picture of the figure on the front, the logo, big logo on the front, this kind of grey, gravestone-y kind of thing going on in terms of the style and design. Then on the back here, we've got a little bit of flavor text, picture of the figure in action, the cross promotion of other characters in the line, a little bit of promotion for the Gridiron Studios weaponry, you know, standard stuff, and he's from Season 2 here. On the side, we can see the logo again, the name of the figure, and the fact that he's number 16 in the line. Then we can open up the flap here. What's it called? The fifth dimension? I can't remember, but we've got the little comic book section on the inside telling a bit of the narrative, a bit of the story around Lt Griffin. And then, of course, here we've got the figure in the windowed packaging so we can see the figure and all the goodies included. Overall, lovely, neat and tidy kind of setup there in the packaging. Very eye-catching, got great peg presence. I think that'll be appealing to the minting box folks, but I am not minting box. I'll be cracking this bad boy open, getting good and hands-on, having a little bit of man-child play time, taking some photos, all that good stuff. So stick around. Future Chris is going to come back and share some review thoughts after all that man-child play time in a minute. So here we'll be in 3, 2, 1... And let's kick things off by talking about the aesthetic, talking about the visual experience with the figure. And here's a nice head-to-toe look for you to take in. Definitely an interesting character. It's one where it's got some shelf presence, but it's kind of, you cast your eye over it and you think, oh, that looks fine. And then you pause for a minute and you start soaking in some of the deeper details and some of the more kind of character-driven, like character identity type stuff that's tied in. Like, it's very easy to miss things like the transparent forearms or the strange camo pattern that's in his uniform. And I kind of like that in a way. It's like a visual experience that sneaks up on you. He sort of blends in a bit with that whole kind of black and red kind of core, black, red, grey kind of core uniform type thing. But then when you settle into examining the figure, you think, oh yeah, there's actually quite a lot of interesting stuff going on here, and there's something a little different. You know, like an invisible man creeping up on you, I suppose. That was a really bad, tenuous connection, Chris. Moving in a bit closer then, let's have a look at some of the finer details, and we'll start with the head sculpt here, and you can see that the design leans very heavily into that sort of that invisible man strapped up head trope that's been around for decades upon decades upon decades. The sculpt of that's really nice. You can see there as I sort of turn it around, all that lovely sort of bandaging, sculpting in there. It's got the nice wash over the top of it as well, just to get some colour in the recesses to make it look a bit kind of dirty and pulled tight. And he's been wearing this around his head for a while. It's a lovely sculpt there. But of course, what's also particularly nice is without the goggles on, you can see the little transparent, see-through, invisible eyes peeking through. So some lovely sculpted detail right off the bat there with the head sculpt. Moving down into the torso, one of the kind of key features here is obviously this big tactical vest. We can see that this is the sort of standard Fresh Monkey Fiction Operation Monster Force tactical vest that we've seen a couple of times with the interchangeable sort of pop stud sections on it, so you can move things about and change things about. We've got the insignia, the Union flag on the front there. In fact, one of the driving forces for me wanting this figure is because he's a British character. I like picking up British characters because I'm a British guy. But then we've also got the kind of Eraser name tag on there as well. Little communicator on the side, got his little purple vials, that sort of Monster Force, sort of supernatural, scientific kind of thing going on. And then the section across the front here with all this kind of tactical gear, like his scissors and his magazines and his holster for his pistol, his torch and what have you. Lots of lovely sculpted details in here and paint applications to give it some depth, so you can see all the little bits of red and the kind of band across the front of this holster. Obviously, the pinky purple sections on the vials, little added details in on the radio communicator, like this little red cable, the handles on the scissors. TQ, someone will have to tell me in the comments down below what that means, but underneath the TQ you can see it's got this kind of leathery texture to it, as we've seen with other Operation Monster Force as well. The clasps are all individually painted too, and that continues down into the sort of next area, featured area, which is the belt section as well. So you can see these shotgun shells are all painted with the brass caps, and then the red shells, got the painted buckle on it, these little painted carabiners for hanging stuff on the side, and then the pouches all sculpted in around the back. You can also see, or maybe not see on the camera, but I think it's there, there's a bit of a dry brush over things like the top shoulder straps here as well, again to give it some more depth and more character. Moving down into the arms, we can see he's got this very sort of unique camouflage pattern here, this kind of hexagonal honeycomb kind of invisibility stuff. I don't know if in the lore or not this is supposed to be able to turn transparent. I know that they've done a full transparent Invisible Man, and whether the idea is that these are they can alter to go transparent along with his physical transparency. I don't know, but you can see he's got these lovely kind of different colours, different shades of grey, this kind of strange patterns throughout. Gives it a lot of character and personality, and this is a great example of one of those kind of little details that sneak up on you with the visual experience, because you're looking at it and going, oh yeah, he's in a grey kind of uniform, but then you zone in and you realise what's going on. You've got this kind of hexagonal pattern, which you sort of associate from your science fiction movies and TV shows and stuff with that kind of invisibility cloak, that hexagonal thing, when there's hexagonal shields, invisible shields, domes over things and what have you, Of course, then down here we've got this little forearm section with a little peek of the transparent Invisible Man in action, with these little kind of wrist straps around the side, and then it's the standard Operation Monster Force gloves with the padded sections at the back and extra little paint applications in red on top of the black to match the rest of the uniform. We've seen these legs before in Operation Monster Force as well. I've just recently picked up the Phantom Corps specialist dude, and it's the same legs there, so the knee pads are the same, the texture design is the same, including this kind of padded section at the top here. Obviously the paint applications are different though, because he's got more of that hexagonal transforming grey pattern throughout. The red trimmings on the padded sections at the top, and the wash over the knee pads being black is like a little kind of metallic dry brush over the top there to give them some depth and some colour. And then he's got his red shoelaces to match up with the rest of his uniform. Pistol holster on the side there, that does look a little bit plasticky compared to the rest of the figure. Little peek at the back there as well, so you can see that the detail is continued around the back there, along with that sort of metallic-y dry brush over the top. So aesthetically, visual experience, I'm going to give him a thumbs up. He's not wowie-zowie like some of the other Operation Monster Force stuff, doesn't stand out on a shelf like Dracula or the Forgotten, what's his name, the Egyptian dude, Forgotten fella, God, whatever, or like the Sleepwalkers and things, or the Delta Squad. But I like the subtlety of it. It sort of leans into that, like I said before, the Invisible Man tropes, the mental associations you have with the idea of the Invisible Man. So it kind of works for me. Yeah, it kind of works for me on that front. And even though he does sort of blend in next to some of the other figures in a way because of the dark colouring, I think, when you do stop and let your eyeball settle on it, interesting stuff comes out. And that's quite an enjoyable visual experience with the figure, so I'm into that. And the head sculpt on the bandaging is really, really good. Look at that. Awesome. Really, really sweet. So yeah, thumbs up on the aesthetic. I think that's a good visual experience. There we go. Okay, right, let's I'll take a close look at the articulation and posability, shall we? Okay then, folks, well, the eraser here is a standard Operation Monster Force articulation scheme, so if you're already familiar with it, you won't find anything new in this section. Please feel free to avail yourself of the chapters. I've put timestamps in so you can jump ahead to the accessories and added value overview. However, if this is the first Operation Monster Force video you've ever seen, or you're curious to know if there's any particular quirks, then stick around and I'll run you through it, and I'll get started by talking about the head. Articulation. So up top here, we've got a ball in the base of the skull, ball in the base of the neck, and a hinge in the neck. So you got really good down like that, you got really good up like that, full 360 swivel all the way around, and then obviously you can sort of move it around a bit for some tilting and swiveling or what have you on the ball at the top. So yeah, pretty decent. Coming down into the arms, we've got the butterfly joint giving us some shuffle back and forward there, and it's the peg and hinge on the armpits and shoulders, so you can go all the way around 360 and then use the hinge to bring them out to a T shape like that. Swivel point here at the top of the bicep and tricep, pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there, then pegged in hands that can swivel all the way around at the wrist. And then you've got the up and down hinges on these hands that were on him out the box. But there's a selection of hand swaps with some of them with the forward and back hinge as well. In the main body here, we've got a barbell joint for the torso articulation and then a ball joint at the waist. You get a bit of movement on it while the tactical vest is on. Obviously, if you remove this, then you get a lot more movement. What you will notice, though, is if you use that barbell joint and the ball joint to crunching forward, you get that weird kind of lift and the gaps at the back there, so you have to sort of finesse it and what have you. And the ball joint has got lots of nice movement in the waist there. Got the drop-down ball joints at the hips and the groin. The forward's not great. It's about there, look. But the Russian ballet is really good. Got a swivel there at the top of the thigh. Pinless knee, that'll get you up to there. And then down into the feet, we've got a boot cut underneath the bottom of the trouser leg there, and then a hinge and a rocker. So you can swivel it a bit on the base, rock it forward, rock it back, give it a bit of swivel. But as one of my viewers rightfully observed with a previous Monster Force figure, the way that this sort of flared trouser leg drape sits does kind of get in the way a little bit of some of the articulation. So, yeah, Operation Monster Force Eraser articulates good. He's posable, very posable. The only criticism I would mention, and it's the same thing that I come across with all the Operation Monster Force, plastic's very crunchy, very brittle right out of the box. I mean, more so than most. I had to apply a lot of heating to this guy. A lot of heating to this guy. I mean, I generally nowadays do give him a bit of a heat, and I know I say a lot on these videos like, oh, it's really crunchy, I had to heat it a lot, but this guy, even now, he's still really creaky and has required repeat heating, especially when it comes to changing this neck joint, which we'll talk about in a minute. But once you kind of loosen it up a bit and you got it where you need it to be, the articulation's good, and I've took some really good photos over the weekend. Really enjoyed myself with the figure, and you know, the areas of possibility, the room for me to pose him as I wanted to, as per my imagination was hoping for, was there. So perfect, exactly what you want. Okay, so there's the articulation. Let's now take a look at his accessories and added value, shall we? And to get us started, we've got these little kind of bandage bracelets, if you will, to go over the transparent forearm section. So if you really wanted to lean in to the bandaged up look, you can do. Just wanted to pop those on while he had the bandaged head on there. These are good. Yeah, these are fine. The sculpting is good, like the head is. It's got that wash over the top as well to give it that kind of mucky bandage look. The only thing I will say is that the bandages around the head look a little grayer than these bandage pieces across the forearms. But one would assume on the forearms it's easier to do a quick replacement if they get too scuzzy than it is the ones around his head, I would think. Then we have the goggles here, just another little addition to the sort of visual identity of the figure while it's in, well, you can use it with both his head sculpts, but I feel like it adds to the bandaged head look. These are good. You've got the little red lenses in there, got the metallic rims, got the black leather straps. Always love it when tiny little finer details like the tightening strap at the side there is painted in the silvery metal look. But yeah, they're fine, and they add to that sort of visual identity of the figure. Next up, we've got a head and neck swap for the figure there, which is the unwrapped, full Eraser Invisible Man piece, which is really lovely. The sculpting in there is excellent. Obviously, without any paint applied over to the top, it's harder to see some of the finer details, but if you really up close with him in hand, you can see they've furrowed the brow, they've sculpted the hair. It is a straight up head sculpt. They've just gone and done it in the transparent plastic there, which is nice. Obviously, again, just opens up the world of possibility for the type of posing, type of displays, type of photos, that you can lean into the character's lore with. The only thing I will say about that, like with all the Operation Monster Force figures that I've picked up, that ball joint at the base of the neck is an absolute arseache to get the necks on and off with. Real pain in the arse. I'm just reheating the necks all the time to do swaps on all of them, not just this guy, but on all of them. And whichever look you go for, Fresh Monkey Fiction have got you covered when it comes to the hands as well. because you've got a full suite of hand swaps in the gloved hands and a full suite of hand swaps in the invisible hands as well. So we've got the open palm, like the evil claws. We've got grippy hands, closed fist hands in the glove selection. Then we've got trigger fingers, we've got closed fists and grippy hands in the invisible selection, as well as these kind of open palm, karate chop, salute hands as well. Although I get the impression from what I did read on the inside of the comic book that Eraser's not one for saluting, really. I mentioned before that we've got the pop stud sections on the tactical vest for the customization there, and these are the included items that you can use with that functionality. So there's an extra holster there. We've got the knife sheath. This is nicely sculpted with a bit of a dry brush over it and the little pop stud painted on. We've got the little evil villain people's logo, and then a little patch there that says you can't kill what you can't see, but I'm struggling to get the autofocus to focus in on that, so you'll have to believe me. And you've got several sections here. You can pop out the radio, you can pop off, if I just do like these purple vials here. We've got 2 pop studs at either side of this front panel section there, so you can put the bigger holster and the knife sheath on if you were so inclined. It's entirely up to you. There's also one round the back as well. So let's say, for example, I wanted to put the little villain logo here. Just pop it on there like that. And while we're talking about the holsters and the knife sheaths and what have you, I'll just show you some of the weapons in the loadout. So we've got the little kind of Walter PPK there. I know that one, folks. On Her Majesty's Secret Service and all that. And then we've got his little dagger here, which is all in black, but they've put a little metallic dry brush over there, over the top of it as well. So that will obviously fit in the knife sheath that I was showing you before. And then this Walter PPK, we've got the pistol holster on his thigh, or I like to put it in this one on the front. Pop it in there, like that. It then has another pistol. This is the one we see all the time with Operation Monster Force, the little 9mm Beretta, I want to say. Again, with the little dry brush over the top of it, the metallic dry brush, just to give that plain black molded piece of plastic a bit of life. So I'll put that one in the thigh holster, just like so. Then we've got the little submachine gunny thing. This is the same as the one that was with the Phantom Core Specialist that I reviewed last week or the week before. So it's, the single molded piece of plastic, lovely sculpted details in there with the metallic dry brush over the top, with the removable suppressor on the front and the removable magazine. And just in case you weren't aware, they've even bothered to paint the top bullets on that, which is a really nice detailed touch that I appreciate. And then we have this piece of work here. I don't know if this is a real rifle or whether this is a kind of more kind of, a sci-fi Operation Monster Force-y, monster killing rifle thing. But I know there's a crowd out there who will happily let me know in the comments down below, so jump in. But you can see it's a single molded piece of plastic, got the grenade launcher piece at the front, the long gun barrel on it, the removable magazine at the back there as well, you can pop in and out, got a little sight on the top and stuff with the dry brush over the top, which is just a really funky, interesting looking weapon. And then finally on weapons, we've got this boring old straight magazine. Not sure what the purpose of that is, but yeah, you can stick it on his person somewhere, I suppose. Now, I mentioned before that this tactical vest is removable. You do it by popping this little stud at the side here, and then I find it easier to pop the head off and then slide it over the top. Now, you might want to do that because you want to just have the plain body underneath, but you can also embellish on that by adding a little shoulder holster strap, like so. So you got the little the holster there, you got the straps down across the shoulders, and then the crisscross section across the back. You can see again, this is just all to the usual standard. Got the leathery texture effect in there, the individual painted studs on the back, and the individual painted buckles across the top of the shoulders. You can see there's a bit of a nice texture to the holster itself as well. So if you were sort of leaning into this idea of a guy who can, transform himself, make himself invisible, sneaking around, he is an assassin after all. Pop his Walter PPK in there, for example. Then, yeah, you can do. It is a bit fiddly. It does ride up. It doesn't sit nice and flush, so you have to kind of press it in. And I've been popping this holster in the back there on that stud, just to press it through into the backpack hole to kind of give it a little bit of extra stability. But yeah, just another interesting look, another interesting way of leaning into your figure there and making use of it. Eraser then comes with the suite of shooty pew pew effects that we get as sort of broad standard with Operation Monster Force as well. So we got the longer muzzle flash, the shorter and shallower, and then the shorter and fatter muzzle flash, and the post-firing gun barrel smoke as well. And then finally, we've got the Operation Monster Force stand, which comes as standard. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, as standard with Operation Monster Force, with the embossed logo on the front, the gravestone motif, the 2 pegs for the footholes, and then the name of the character on the front for displaying your fig. So Eraser, the Eraser, is a thumbs up on the accessory selection. He's not short of an accessory or two to add the value. And of course, as I've said before with Operation Monster Force, they do need to add the value. You need to see where your money's going, because they are pricier figures compared to your sort of standard retail Hasbro figs, for example, or Mattel figures. So they've got to dry brush, they've got to wash, and they've got to chuck in a load of extra stuff. But what I especially like, though, is that they think about what they're doing with the accessories. Things aren't just chucked in for the sake of it. I mean, I know there's a lot of reuse in there, but it all makes sense with the way that the kit bash customization stuff that they're throwing in, the ways of changing up your character to lean into or acknowledge different aspects of the character's lore. In this instance, making him more transparent and invisible, as per his story, as per his narrative. So that's all good and fun. I like those little extra touches. And of course, what it also means is, because it's standardized, as your collection of Operation Monster Force figures grow, you can use parts and bits from the bits box and kit bash across your whole collection, which also opens up a wider world of possibility as well. So, yeah, is it added value? Yes, I think it is. They are pricier, but I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up in terms of the world of possibility that it gave me when I was taking pictures the other day and displaying them up and playing around. So, there you go. Okay, let's now take a look at the Eraser next to a couple of other Monster Force characters, shall we? So, to get us started, here's Eraser next to Egyptian dude, Forgotten King. Forgotten King, isn't it? I keep forgetting. Just keep getting the name wrong. I wasn't going to pick this guy up, but they got me. You got me. Fresh Monkey Fiction. I'm in. All right, you did it. All right. But there they are. Here's Eraser next to the red uniform Sleepwalker. I think that's quite a nice combo, actually. Nice bit of uniformality in the sort of black and red combo type thing going on there. Here he is next to the Phantom Corps Special Operations guy. A lot of reuse, across the two. The main book, the tactical vest, all the same, but I think sensible reuse that you can actually, to see them next to each other like that, you wouldn't go, that's the same character. They're definitely unique enough. And finally, here he is next to Count Dracula. Okay, folks, well, here is Eraser going around on the turntable there, so you can get a nice 360 view of the figure, and while you're eyeballing that, I'll give you some final thoughts. And yeah, I think you can probably tell by the tone of the review that I've had fun with this one. I'm really into this Operation Monster Force stuff that Fresh Monkey Fiction are doing. Well, all of it, really. I like the Naughty or Nice workshop. I like the Father Christmases. I like the look of the Soldiers of Fortune that are coming down the pipeline. I'm eagerly anticipating the Order of the Crimson Moon stuff. It's all just speaking to me. It's speaking to me a lot. In a way that some of the lines don't particularly. I was just going to pick up a handful. Just the ones that I felt would integrate well across my collection. Get General Brown, he'll integrate well across my collection. Get the Phantom Corps Trooper, because I can do a kit bash and make him skip from Action Force. But as you've just seen, I've now got the Forgotten King, I've now got Dracula. I've got Eraser because he's got a Union flag and I like having British characters in my collection. It's a slippery slope, but I think I'm about ready to say, yeah, I'm into it. It's not a line I'm collecting just to supplement my G.I. Joe Classified or my Marvel Legends. It's a line I'm collecting, probably in lieu of Marvel Legends, I would say. Right now, I think that's possibly where my budget that I'm not spending on Marvel Legends is going to go. So, and this is another great addition. To make it less about the line as a whole and talk about this figure that I'm reviewing, yeah, this is another great addition. Yes, it is a lot of reuse. There is a lot of repetition. I think they're quite smart with the reuse because I like this sort of kit bash customize approach where they give you lots of options and lots of room to play around. So your core character with the core narrative is present and correct, and in this instance, it's stuff like the head sculpts and the hand swaps in the invisible look. But then you can play around with this as you see fit. And I probably will do. I'll probably use that neck and head swap to get some other characters designed and made. And yeah, I don't know. I like the idea. I like the approach. But then I like the core character as well. So it works on several levels. Anyway, this is a waffly outro, but as you can probably gather, this is about Extra Games and Collectibles recommends. I think if you pick this one up, you'd have a lot of fun with it. It's a good figure on many levels. So go out and buy one. Why not? Treat yourself. It's nearly Christmas. Or put it on your Christmas list. All right, ladies and gents, well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. It helped you make a decision as to whether this is a purchase for you or not. If it did, then do the usual YouTube stuff. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And all that remains to say, have yourself a great day, have yourselves a great week, and swing back around for another video sometime soon. And when you do, I'll see you then. Okay? Take it easy, folks.